going to start tonight's meeting of the Upton ZBA. There is an agenda that's been posted online, and I'm reading from the same one. Hopefully it'll be an efficient meeting. So we'll get started right away with, we have a special permit application for 44 Milford Street. This is Imperial Gas. Do you guys want to come up and say what you're going to do?
Yep.
I will say the improvements down there are quite significant. I noticed your new front porch.
Yeah.
Yeah. My big glasses.
Yeah, the first.
They would have been easier to tear that one.
Good evening, I'm John Dennott. I'm here on behalf of Imperial Gas, Upton LLC. We were in front of the board probably 6-7 months ago for a special permit to do an addition on the building. So we're kind of in the middle of that, and we realized there's some other things we want to do to the property besides that. One of the items is the tanks are approaching 28 years old. We like to replace the tanks in our gas stations every 30 years. They are double-walled fiberglass, but we still like to replace them every 30 years. So we would like to replace both tanks, the 12,000 and 8,000 existing tank in the same location. That's one of the items tonight on the agenda. Of course, everything there is a special permit because it's pre-existing non-conforming for the use in the zone. The second thing we'd like to do is we'd like to add some electric car chargers. Can you scroll down a little bit? So right here on the site where this curve, where you enter the site, there's an island now here, and there's 3 parking spaces over here that are pretty much useless except for one. They're only 12 feet deep because of the way this island hooks around because where the sign is located. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to take out part of this island, have the rounding come straight in, make these real spaces 9 by 18. And I've already been through conservation. I already have an order conditions recorded to remove this pavement and add some grass up in this corner here. We would be adding 1 fast charger with 2 sides, 2 ports, so it'll actually be 2 charging units. I think it's the first public ones in Upton. And there'll be fast chargers. Those will be connected to this front pole, to a transformer pad, to a utility box that has the switches and stuff for the electric chargers. The reason we're doing that and we're not going through, that's okay. We're not going through the building with that is because it's about a year to get 800 watt amp service boxes, and we can do it with a 400 watt if we don't go through the building. So we're coming off the pole to speed the process up. The third thing we're doing is we want to put a new diesel pump, a self-service diesel pump in Canopy. You can see it right there at the top of the screen. I don't know if you can zoom out, Mike.
Will the regular gas still be
full
service?
Yeah, so it'll be full serve in the front for regular gasoline.
My wife.
So right now the diesel's in the same pumps, and anybody that's been there knows that we get a lot of landscapers with trailers, trucks, and they take up the whole front of the store and the whole island. This will get them out of the travel path for that, put them over here on the side. They'll be able to access around the building in for one side of the pump and straight in this way for the other pump, exit around the building, and come out and exit this way. It just makes the traffic flow. We're trying to help with the traffic flow in there because if you get 2-3 trucks, it blocks the whole front basically all the way to the curb cut. This should help a lot, especially since it's self-serve. They won't be waiting. We only have 1 attendant there. They won't be waiting for the attendant. They can pull up, fill up, and go on their way. The other thing we would like to do is because we're moving this island, Mike, you can go to the next plan. Because we're moving this island, we want to move the sign. So the plan that I gave in my permit application has the sign moving down next to this pole. But when I was doing the sign plans today, I realized that there's a guide wire for the pole that goes into the ground right where we had the sign. So I slid it over on this plan, and we're just sliding it closest to the right of way. We would need a special permit for the location and for the signage. If you flip through your packets, Mike, if you want to flip up to the signage stuff. I did have a colored plan, but we don't really need it, I don't think. So this is the sign that we'd like to do. Of course, this is just, the special permit would just be for the location and kind of the general look and size of the sign. We would have to, the sign company will go in front of, provide a whole application to the building department for approval. The sign's 10 feet tall, which is the maximum the town allows. We're going to keep it below. This says 40 square feet, but this is actually 33.3 square feet. So the building is 1,672 square feet. You're allowed 1 square foot for 100 square feet. So it's only 16.72, but by special permit, the board can double that. So we're right at the maximum for the special permit. The sign would be molded acrylic or polycarbonate, internal lighting, just like it is now. It has internal lighting now. It would have our emblem on the top, Gas and Country Store. Neon, these are neon, not neon, LED lighted pricing, which we can change from inside the store, and just a banner sign that says we have propane on the bottom. If you want to scroll down one more, it's very similar to what's there, except it's a little brighter and newer. So that's what's there now. This whole top section of the sign is lit from internal lighting. This sign is 10'7" by the same 6'8", and it's 56 square feet. So we're cutting it almost in half, the size of the signage itself. Instead of the brick, we're going to have stone. So we need a special permit for the lighting inside, the internal lighting, the location of the sign, and the sign size going from 16.72 to 33, under 33.66. So basically, the canopy and the pumps all meet the setbacks, but once again, because it's pre-existing non-conforming, we still need a permit for any work we do on the site. Any questions? Like I said, we already have our order conditions. I recorded it yesterday from Conservation. We went in front of them. We submitted the plans at the same time. They just had a meeting before the plans.
Have you talked to the fire department?
So the fire department contacted me and asked me how far from the pumps to the canopy that was, not to the canopy, to the new roof line. So fire code is minimum 10 feet. We have 15 feet existing.
I'm assuming the self-serve pump will have the foam system?
Yeah, so the self-serve pump, we're doing that through Global LP, Global Partners LP. It's a gasoline company, that's all they do. They will pull all the permits through the building department and the fire department. So they will present all the detection system, the fire protection system, all to the fire department before we build anything. So that will all be approved from the fire and the building department.
Gentlemen, I don't want to hog the whole thing, so if you guys have questions, shout them out too. I have definitely been filling up diesel down there for my heater all winter long, and I'm familiar with the challenges that you guys have.
Yeah.
And this is kind of I don't want to say that back right-hand parking lot. I don't want to say it's wasted, but it's wasted.
So we're taking some of that. So a lot of that was built in the 30-foot no disturb area for conservation. So we're going to restore that area with grass and some plantings. So to make up for the new pavement where we take away that rounding. So they were happy with it. It gets rid of that dead corner too. It'll just be grass and plants back there.
For internal lights, I would want to, we don't often do internal light signs. We have done some, they can be allowed in some cases. But I would want to at least have a requirement that it is off.
Oh yeah, 30 minutes after we close, it will be turned off, absolutely.
And you went very fast. Size comparison of the current size sign to the one you're looking for?
So the current sign is 56.6 and the new sign will be 33.4.
So it's a reduction in the size of the sign, okay.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay. But I thought I heard that, but I wanted
Almost half the size.
Okay. you gonna put a foam system on the front one, or just on this new one?
No, just on the self-service.
Yeah. I know the fire department, it's not required, but I know the fire department at some point was about that. You guys have any thoughts? Oh, this is a random one. And I'm not even sure where the property line is, but at some point, can someone just wander through the swamp and pick whatever junk's been thrown into the swamp? I just happened to look in the swamp the other day down there.
Yeah, we have done that. Conservation has asked us to do that a couple times, and we have a couple times, so I'll check it out.
It may be on your neighbor's property.
Okay.
The 60s were different.
I will absolutely check it and see if it's on our property.
Yeah, thank you.
I do have a comment.
Michael or Don, you guys want to talk? Go for it, Don.
So, just as an FYI, the community center does have a car charging system going to be coming online. I don't know if there's at least one, maybe two, just as an FYI. Right down the street.
Well, that's good. I tried to go to dinner with friends, and the charger didn't work. So then we were going to go to Wendy's and go across the street and charge at the new gas station. It didn't work. I ended up sitting up at Target while they charged their car, and I couldn't work. So I'm glad to see a charger coming to town.
And it'll be a fast charge system, so that's good.
Bob, any comments, questions, concerns?
We do this all with one special permit.
Mike, can we do it all with one?
Yeah, it was applied for one special permit under the expansion alteration of pre-existing non-conforming, much like the last application.
Yeah, I mean, the gas tanks are a no-brainer. Putting in new gas tanks every 28 years instead of 30, I think it's a smart move.
Yeah.
And through the chair, did I hear correctly that the sign, although it's being changed, is actually
Smaller.
decreasing?
Yeah, and it's back, it's illuminated now, it's on right now, I just realized
Yeah.
that.
I was just looking at the language in our bylaw as he was
Yeah.
typing. It said if a sign is reworded, it requires, we don't have the power to enforce that, unfortunately, but the other things, yeah. So yeah, it would be appropriate that it's wrapped up into this special permit.
Especially when things become more compliant from being
Yes.
less compliant.
Exactly.
And I think everyone in town would agree that both gas stations in town got to the point where they could use a little bit of work, and you guys certainly have been putting in a lot.
Bill,
Mike,
Yeah.
I have one question for you. You had a note in your review memo about the prior owner having a license to sell cars there. Is that?
We have no intent on selling any cars.
Okay.
You asked me that at the last meeting too.
Okay.
The board asked me that at the last
they're
meeting.
working off the same.
So
rate.
we're not, that's on the sign right now, that's coming off the sign.
All right.
Bill, through the chair, I did have a question in my review memo
Yeah,
that
go
I
on.
sent to the board. I just wanted confirmation that if the engineer, the applicant feels as though they'll be providing adequate queuing space for
Yeah.
the existing pumps and proposed.
So we do believe it will be better than it was. Adequate is dependent on what pulls in there, but if you get a truck and a trailer, it's not going to block access to the front pumps. If you get 3 truck and trailers, if they're not parked in the back, it might. But, at least we have queuing now. If they come in from the far entrance, we have queuing around the whole back of the building.
Yeah, I was just there and a car died and could not restart at the gas pump. The other issue in here is we want to make sure that, and I think it should be part of the conditions, that you have your lighting is downward. It's not, I don't want
Yeah,
lighting
so
leaving.
all the building lights are pointed downward. I think we discussed that at the last. There will be no outside lighting on the sign. It'll all be internal, so there'll be nothing pointed up or anything at the sign.
Of course, you have to go through, conservation
Done.
changes and the fire department. So anything that they want, we're going to want you to.
Yep.
Okay. And it's just for safety anyways. Don, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm glad I'm very glad they're improving that area, so.
Okay, Michael, how about you? Michael Gleb?
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Just wanted to be-
Gentlemen, we can comfortable if I open it up to the public for questions and concerns? I always like to open it to the public for questions or concerns. Does anyone have any, if you have a question or concern, can you come up to the mic and just state your name? Name and Amy, address too?
Yes, please.
Name and address, please.
Thank you. Brad Phillips, 11 Christian Hill. I abut the property. While I do appreciate the effort to revitalize the area and bring to Upton, I would think that please take into consideration that aside from this business, that area is completely wooded, residential, quiet, although it has been getting louder, noise pollution, light pollution. Upton residents have historically been conservationists. This area is wetland swamp, as you called it. So while I do appreciate the business getting better, specifically the new diesel pump does give me concern, bringing a lot more trucks into the area. And let's see. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for those
Thank you.
considerations.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, because that part of town is across the street, part of the new economic development zone, correct? That
This
parcel
is-
across the street?
This parcel's included in the use.
Yes, it is, I know it, yeah. And with the sewer going by, that parcel across the street may also get developed with time. Just be aware that is something that, when they change the zoning on that could be impactful of that area. Yes, sir.
I just like to have some responses to that. So when we did go through conservation, there was probably like a 30-foot strip beyond the pavement in the back that was all grass and mowed. And we had agreed to restore that to natural buffer up to the top of the slope and only leave a 4 or 5 foot strip of grass. So we are restoring natural buffer in the back, and we'll also be restoring natural buffer in that right-hand corner. And right now there are two diesel nozzles, and moving the pump, those will become gas, but we'll still only have 2 diesel nozzles. So we're not increasing the number of diesel nozzles at all.
Now, with the orientation of the diesel, do you have some shrubbery or something in the back so that any headlights aren't going up the hill?
So that buffer area, that's all going to be restored with naturally growing blueberry bushes, and so yeah, there will. We don't have any. It's a pretty long way to. It's a big swamp there to any.
Yeah, I know there's a swamp.
And then I don't think there's any house till it starts to go uphill in the back. It's pretty far. Can you zoom out on this one, Mike?
Zoom out.
Yeah, I think it shows the nearest house in the back. If not, you know what? If you go down to the bottom, there's a site distance one, the last, very last plan.
To be fair, anecdotally, I can see
Oh, you can?
your headlights into my kitchen.
Okay, so well,
Okay, this is why I'm asking.
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to clarify that is true.
so
So I
can
see
you
the
zoom out on that at all?
So I see the green circles that are put in there.
Yeah, that's all being planted.
Okay, can that be planted to be some sort of evergreen that gets at least 6 feet tall?
So we can do something in front of that. Those are all conservation plants because they're in the wetland buffer, the 30-foot no disturb. So those plans have all been specified by conservation. They're blueberry bushes, there's some birch, there's some different stuff.
What about like I'm looking for something that will block the headlights from the neighbors. If they're pointing, because they're pointing instead of along the road, they're going to be pointing perpendicular to the road, correct?
Yeah, so what we could do is we could put a section of white vinyl fence there, solid white vinyl
Solid.
fence. That would be the easiest thing for us to do.
Okay,
Because we don't have much room now because we've already kind of planted it out with the Conservation Commission.
well, if you look at your sight lines from where the pumps are, just that way it blocks headlights from going up into the neighborhood.
Sure, so the canopy's 20 feet, so we'll do a 30-foot section of fence along that line. I'll revise the plans and give them to Amy.
Okay. that sound like a good idea, guys? Okay.
That's an
Thank
easy
you.
fix for us.
Any other neighbor concerns? Okay. Gentlemen, are you ready for, is anyone ready to make a decision, make a motion? Bob, how are you feeling? Michael, you would be voting on this one, just so you know. So you'll have to unmute. Eric, you want to make a motion?
See the fence in motion.
Yeah, I will ask him to.
Yeah.
And Amy can put that as a condition.
Did you ask me to make a motion?
Eric will make it. He's actually got one here suggested.
Yeah, we have a suggested motion from Michael. And does anybody have any comments on the conditions that Michael suggested? Should we include all of those plus the fence? Is what I would do.
I would include,
Yeah.
plus the fence.
Okay. All right, I move to approve the application for a special permit for the expansion, alteration, or change of a pre-existing non-conforming use as presented. I move to find that the proposed changes and alterations are no more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming uses and structures pursuant to section 300, 3.3B and C of the zoning bylaw. I move that we approve it subject to the following conditions: that any new lighting be angled down and shielded so as to not project into the sky or on neighboring land, that the required amount of parking per the zoning bylaw, off-street parking requirements be demarcated in the existing parking lot, any required fire department and life and safety reviews be done through the fire department prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy, that the applicant obtain any required approvals through Board of Health and Conservation Commission prior to obtaining a certificate of occupancy from code enforcement, any required changes from building, fire, or other required codes that affect the layout of the site as shown in the plan submitted should be reviewed by the zoning board to determine if it's in substantial compliance with this approval, and that a 30-foot fence be installed along the back as described to block headlights from the neighbor's property.
Okay. Well, seconded, anybody?
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, vote aye. Bob?
Bob Williams, aye. Bob Buckner, aye.
How about Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Michael?
Michael Gallup, aye.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. You can just go to the board. It's a 30-day appeal period, I think? 20 days, sorry, I'm really tired. That 2-year-old granddaughter tired me out today, that's all I'm gonna say. So 20-day appeal period. Thank you to the neighbor that came in, and I hope that helps with, address some of the concerns. Okay,
Thank the board. Thank you.
Okay. Next one is a special permit for 12 Pearl Street. This is an application by Haley Mozart requesting a special permit pursuant to section 300-3.1 of the Upton zoning bylaws to open a family child care home as defined by MGL chapter 15 section 1A in the AR district. Welcome. Why don't you tell us what you're doing here tonight?
Just doing my due diligence here and wanting to do everything legally, but I do plan on opening a small daycare within my home. Will be up to 6 children, including my 2 kids. And I plan on opening mid-May.
Since I have multiple grandchildren, I understand the need for daycare is constant, so.
Yes.
Okay, is that town sewer or private?
Private.
Okay. The house is staying the same as it currently is?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever thought about, is there currently already fencing?
We're getting a quote. I had somebody come over to check out the backyard to kind of maybe flatten it out and do a fence.
Yeah. The main concern is always like the front yard, like if someone can dart out from behind a bush and into the road.
Right.
You know, so that we want to make sure that there's good sight lines out there. That's always a concern. I'm assuming hours, I would assume like 7 to 6 or something.
7:45 to 5.
5.
That's pretty much what the other daycares are in that vicinity.
Yeah, and there certainly is a need. I know my own daughter has expressed that she drove all the way to Marlborough for her granddaughter on the days that I don't watch her. One of the notes that Mike has given us is that that you should at some point prior to opening is having the back road to building commissioner come by and just check out the site, the building for safety purposes. He's a real good guy. He's got a lot of grandchildren himself, so it's all about safety.
Right.
Gentlemen, Michael and Don and Bob, any questions, concerns that you guys have?
Well, the only thing I've, like the bills is the safety items, you know. I know they're probably covered somewhere else, but I'm not sure of that, but, you know, fire extinguishers, emergency phone numbers by the phone, CPR training for the people that are involved. I'm sure you probably know all that already, but
Yeah,
just
it's,
a reminder of some of those things, I mean, just so that we don't miss them.
Definitely.
Well, you don't miss
It's
them.
definitely looked out also by the early education department.
Okay.
And I have already done the CPR and first aid training. But they too will come out and do a check for safety
Okay.
before they issue a license.
I think you're gonna want to, I think all the licenses have to get filed with the town also.
Okay.
Amy, does that go to you or Michael, does that go
It
to?
goes to the town clerk.
Okay.
Town clerk downstairs,
Okay.
Denise. Michael or Don, do either of you have questions or concerns?
I'm good, thank you.
Are you going to do any renovations or addition or anything in relation to this, to your daycare?
No, we have a really large space in the basement that would be suitable for childcare, open exit, everything. But like I said, I can't do anything without the early education department approving the space anyway. But, I mean, I do take all that into consideration myself.
And they're more expert at this than we are. Do you have any concerns, Eric?
Just a question for Mike. The review memo refers to an in-law apartment. Is that part of what we're looking at tonight? Or is that?
No, there was, she was before the board late last year, I think it was.
November, I think?
Yeah, for an in-law apartment.
Okay.
But this, I was just noting all the, as I typically do, I note all the approvals that are going with a property.
Okay.
So that we don't miss anything.
Yeah, I purchased the house from my parents, and that was already there. They
Okay,
just
I
never,
remember
yeah, and they have the permits to build it. They just never took that one step and got the permit for an in-law, so.
Okay, all right. Mr. Butler, would you like to give a motion tonight, or? Oh, sorry, my mistake. I always open it to the public. Thank you, Bob. Any questions or concerns from the audience, neighbors, whatever? Okay, I don't think there is. That's good. Either of you, or I can go back to Eric. That it's,
I'll take it. Are you going to approve with the conditions that were suggested?
yeah, that's what I would say, yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve the application for a special permit to allow family child care home as presented pursuant to section 303.1 of the Upton zoning bylaws with conditions being the home daycare is actively in use, the owner shall maintain 5 feet of yard from the road, pavement, clear of all tall brush and vegetation which may interfere with the sight distance existing the driveways. If the home is serviced by septic, the homeowner should confer with the Board of Health to ensure compliance. Copies of any state approvals and licenses must be filed with the Department of Land Use and Inspectional Services to be kept on file with the property building records.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Michael, I think you vote on this?
Yep, Michael Gelb, aye.
Bob Butler, aye.
Bob Humes, aye.
Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, special permit for 130 High Street. This is an application by buyer under contract, basically wanting a non-conforming use. This is, for those who don't know, this is that house right next to the lake that's been through, what, 3 realtor agents or something? It's been on the market for quite a while, so I'm glad to see someone going to do something with it. You want to tell us what you're going to do here, folks?
Yes. Good evening, board. My name is Attorney Paul Ron. I'm here representing Jacob Priestley and Mike Priestley. They are currently the purchasers, and we're under contract currently to buy the property out. I think we have a closing date of mid-April to close out, but the zoning on the building itself used to be the first floor, having it as an office. The variance previously had sort of, I guess, expired because of non-use by the previous owner. And the top floor, the second floor, is currently residential. We're looking to apply for a special permit today to keep the first floor as an office space and keep the second floor as a residential space.
Yeah, it was for decades. Mrs. Rice, wasn't it?
Oh, gosh.
Yes, yes. She was a classic, that's all I'll say.
I'm not an old man.
Anyways, I'm glad to see something happening with the property. It's been on the market for a while. It has, through my entire time here, has been a dual-use property with a chiropractor there for years and years and years and years and years. And I can see where residentially it would be a tough sell for a young family to go in there. That's a really busy intersection, so I can see why you'd want to keep it that way. Any questions or concerns from any of the board members? Michael, Don, Bob, Eric? I'm pretty familiar with this property, so.
Can you tell us a little bit about the business that you're proposing to have on the first floor?
So the business would be a property management business.
Okay.
They manage residential and commercial apartment buildings or just buildings in general. They're looking to have 1 to 4 employees maximum that would just be parked up in the parking lot there, and they wouldn't really be, there's no oncoming traffic or foot traffic that's going to be expected in the business other than maybe the employees. And from time to time, maybe some of the tenants will stop by if they have a grievance, possibly, but.
Okay.
How many parking spaces are there currently?
Depends on how you want to define a parking space, I guess. It's a big pile of gravel out back. I would call it maybe 2 or 3. Out front, though, there's at least 2 spaces that are actually paved. They're very nice.
If you're going to have 4, you might want to have, 5 parking spots.
Yes. So, and there's also a 2-car garage, 2 deep, not wide. So I plan on using that.
Parking's probably my biggest concern, truthfully. And that getting out of that driveway is challenging too.
Getting out of the driveway is it's challenging. However, we plan on removing just a little bit of shrubbery out front, so that way it's easy to get out. Right now, the shrubbery hasn't been maintained. Most of the downspouts are detached. I mean, the whole place is overgrown. It's really dilapidated. We look forward to coming in, kind of cleaning it up, making it appealing. So also safe.
What's your hours?
Hours will be 8 to 5. It's very relaxed. We don't like to be those kind of people, so it'll kind of just be come and go throughout the day, but of course nobody's there late at night.
Any signage is going to have to follow our regs, just be aware of that. For a property like that, probably We don't really like a lot of internal lighted signs, just be aware of that. All right, turn exit only. The only weird thing is with the lights might actually help them get out. You know, because I found that the lights have helped me get out of my house. All the traffic is paused. You have half a chance, where before we had nothing. My biggest concern, I think, is with parking. I think you need to have at least enough parking spots for every employee. Whether it be in the front and the back is not an issue for us, or for me, I should say personally. Mike had suggested a right turn only, but I think with the lights, you might be able to get away with.
We tell everybody right turn only already.
Okay, good. All right, then we'll just put
With the
that in
parking.
as a condition then, because that's probably a challenge there anyways.
With the parking question itself, I don't think all the employees are going to be present within the same day, every day, within the same hours. They all have different duties, so
Okay.
they're going to be in and out on simultaneously, possibly different hours of the day.
It's very true. Yeah, well, we do have, 2 or 3 employees. Most of them are leasing agents, so they'll be out on the road. They probably won't even be in the county most of the time, so.
I would still maintain, if you can potentially have 4 spots.
Absolutely.
Okay. Plus you also have the tenant. But I do realize that the tenant and you are in opposite hours. Tenants usually going to be there, during the evening, and you're there during the work hours. I mean, I'd rather see the place get cleaned up. I hate to see a building just get more and more dilapidated, especially something that's right where everyone sees it. I think you're gonna, now with the sale, I'm assuming you're having the sewer inspection?
Set to be fully replaced starting either tomorrow or Friday.
Okay, that answers that question. Okay, board members, any more questions, concerns before I open it to the public? Okay, I'm going to open it to the public. Any questions or concerns by any of the neighbors or anyone in the public here? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Humes, would you like to make the motion tonight?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to grant a special permit for the use of the first floor of the building as an office for space with property management company at 130 High Street. With 4 employees limited on site.
Okay, any second?
Do we want to limit the hours of operation? That was a nice review memo. It doesn't sound like.
7 to 6.
Yeah,
Okay, with the limit of hours of operation, 7 to 6.
yeah.
Okay. And you want to second the motion?
Yeah, I'll second that.
With the
Yeah, with
additional?
that.
Okay, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Bob Butler, aye.
Bob Humes, aye.
Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Michael?
Michael Geld, aye.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. There's a 20-day appeal period, just to let you know, but I'm glad to see that's getting work done. It's needed.
Thank you, Chairman.
So thank you. Sounds like a good fit for that property.
Thank you.
So,
All right, so the main event, the continued public hearing for the comprehensive permit of 47 Main Street, application of Loberser Building Corp. I won't read the whole thing. Gentlemen, I understand there's a change that might make some people here happy tonight.
Yes.
Want to explain what's going on?
Yep, we have some significant changes tonight. Kevin Lobiser is on by Zoom, so I'll let him do most of the talking, and I'm going to just kind of flip through the PowerPoint for him, and then Peter will also speak at the end. So, Kevin, are you on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. We can hear
Go
you.
for it, Kevin.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Yeah, well, as David said, we thought we were coming in for maybe some review with Fire Captain Lazars and some final thoughts from Stan Tech, but we thought we would throw hopefully a very positive curveball at tonight's meeting, and we're hoping if you could give us a few minutes to explain what we've done, and then obviously clearly open it up to questions and whatever else we have to do. So we're planning on doing. If David and Mike could start to pull up the first slide. I mean, obviously, as the board knows, we've been, going through some very good meetings with the zoning board in particular. We have been, we've met with the fire captain Lazars, fire chief. We've obviously had a couple of meetings with Pat Roach, building commissioner, and we clearly have met with many of the neighbors, and we have not been tone deaf. We've been trying to think in sort of value engineer and come up with a lot of different ways that we could adjust the project in a positive way, and while still keeping it financially feasible to actually build the project. And we believe that what we're going to show you tonight is clearly our best foot forward in trying to achieve that. I think if David could maybe pull up the first slide. Probably the thing that we'd like to start with, guys, is that this is the original site plan or page out of the site plan review. And if you look inside the building box, it talks about the slab grade, which the upper level was at grade 344, and the lower level is at 332, because that School Street side had the walkout condition with the units down in the lower level, which on that side did technically make the building 5-story, and the Whitney side was 4-story. What we've done is we've, especially once we met with the fire department and we realized that although our plan clearly would meet the standards of what fire safety and EMS would need, it was definitely maybe not the most advantageous situation for fire and EMS. So that's something we take very seriously. So what we have been able to do is, technically, if David could go to the next slide, so you'll see on the left, we tried to keep this as simple as we could. That's just showing that original box with the 2 slab grades, 344 and 332. And then if you look at under after is what we're referring to as our new design. Our new slab grade is 337.5. And what that just lets you know what that means is that we have lowered the entire site, or we've rebalanced the site. So on the Whitney Street side, we've cut the parking lot and the slab height down 6.5 feet. And then on the School Street side, we're eliminating the entire walkout section of the building, which yields 8 less units for the apartment. So instead of 68, it would be dropping to 60. And the entire building will now be on one elevation, and it will be on slab grade, and it would be a complete 4-story building on all 4 sides. What that's achieving, obviously, as we said, it's dropped the building 6.5 feet just on the site without the next slides, which we'll be getting into the building. But what that's done is it has allowed us to eliminate all of those stairs and retaining walls that were on the left-hand side. By doing this new grading, we actually were able to slide the building a hair, as it's oriented on this page, it's a hair to the left. Still stays in the original sort of building envelope of our old plan, but because we eliminated those stairs and retaining walls, that freed up some space for us. So that also had us, we have overall eliminated 8 parking spaces. We will no longer have parking spaces on the 2 ends of the building. Our closest point to any neighbor, as everybody knew, was 19 Whitney Street. Originally that was 63 feet from the corner of the building to the property line. And I'm not trying to tell you that that's grown tremendously, but it went in the positive direction, and it's now, I believe, a little over 68 feet. So what's significant about that is that it gives us more room on the retaining wall that's in that corner, more room for landscaping and buffer. So that was obviously a very positive situation. We've also been able to add dedicated spots for package delivery on the front of the property. And of course, most importantly, it's allowed for fantastic access and flow for fire and EMS. And obviously, as you guys probably read in the letter that has originally came out from the fire department, pretty much every paragraph in there constantly went back to the access that everybody was going to have because of that 5-story section of the building. And so obviously that is not an issue anymore because it will no longer be that story. That story has been completely eliminated. Let me see. I think, David, we probably could go to the building. So that's the look of the building. So this is a whole new look of our building compared to the one that was proposed before, which we will show you side by side. But this is the Whitney Street side. So you can now see that it is a genuine 4-story building. On the sides, you can see that that's all the same grade, and even in that angle, you can see that the grade in the back side, the School Street side, is the same. We've also taken the approach of eliminating some of the porches to kind of downplay the overall size and feeling of the building. And the other probably really cool thing is that the original average height of our building, we're not here tonight to get into the building code stuff again on the height of building and how the average height and heights are determined. But if we take all of that out and we look at it more from a layman's terms, okay, I think that's the best approach. Our building was on the Whitney Street side, the building was about 49 feet and 2 inches, I believe. And on the walkout side, the building was 60 feet, 8 inches, and that was our original building. Our new building is currently now, the entire building is 46.8. So it's a 14-foot difference on the School Street side. And we do believe that we can still sort of engineer out about another 1.5 feet off the building. We just kind of ran out of time before the meeting. We also were trying to get ready for the selectmen's meeting last night. So we clearly intend to continue to evolve the building plan. Maybe if David could show the next slide, I think that's a little bit more obvious as to the change. So the slide on the left, that is the original proposed building. That's the one that's facing the School Street residence, which that lower level is technically a basement level through building code, but clearly it's not an issue. We wanted to argue with the fire department that in their world they still had 5 stories to deal with. So if you see the picture to the right, that's what the new proposed building looks like in comparison to the original one. And again, in the real world, that building on the left was a little over 60 feet tall, and the new one is a little over 46 feet tall. I think pretty significant. This slide, we're just letting you know, I'm not sure if you remember or not, but we did have in the lower level of the original plan, we did have like the gym and some leasing office space, and a lot of the amenities are down there. We just wanted to show in this particular slide that we're even though we've done what we've done with the building, we have not taken away any of the amenity spaces. We've just moved them around. So now the gym and the leasing office, the package rooms, and the dog wash are on the slab grade or the actual first floor. And on the second floor, we will now have the community room and the co-working space on the second floor.
That's a significant difference. And,
yes.
A few heads not bobbing up and down out in the audience. So.
The other thing on this page here, guys, this was probably not something that your board was even aware of, but I do think it's worth letting you know if someone from my team could point on the plan. Originally, because of the lower level, you can imagine, like just even in your basement, right? When you want to do a bathroom in a finished basement, there can become a problem with how you're going to get the sewage out. Is it going to be gravity fed? Is it going to need a pump? Is it going to need, some type of a lift station? So because of the original design, we were actually going to be requesting through conservation what's called a temporary access through the smallest part of the wetlands to bring the sewer and water lines through to get to Route 140. And we had to do that because of the elevations. And now by changing the building and eliminating that lower level, we're now going to be able to be successful in bringing our utilities, all of our utilities, right down and through our roadway access. So we will no longer have to consider doing a temporary work in the wetlands. So I think that's pretty positive. The other thing that I think Peter will probably touch base on this a little bit, but everything we've done, we did not change any of the drainage. So obviously I understand, and I certainly know we'll be paying for it, that Stantec needs to confirm that for the town. We're very aware of that. We want them to. But the only thing we've changed on the site were the things that we talked about. We eliminated the 8 parking spaces, so we've eliminated impervious area, but we did not lighten up the drainage. So technically it's fair to say that the drainage system has become more robust because we have less asphalt, but we kept the drainage the same. So that's a big deal, and I think this plan, it's tough because obviously a piece of paper is flat, so you can't see how much easier it is for the the vehicle or even pedestrian traffic around the building. But all those sidewalks and roadways, I'm not sure, Peter, but it's basically flat. But there's probably a slight grade change to go to the back just to get the natural drainage to work in our drainage structures. And then I think that we had one more slide that I wanted to show, and that was on what's called the SWEPT plan, and that's the plan for fire and EMS. So that's the computer generation showing that the largest fire apparatus flows through this property very smoothly. So I'm not expecting, to probably go into that myself. That's something that Peter or fire captain they could talk about. But I know that through our meetings we are making sure that we use the right apparatus that the captain asked us to use. So I'm very comfortable that that's what this is achieving today. I know you guys have had a long meeting already, so I think what we were hoping to do is just to show you this. We're pretty excited about it. To just go into the weeds a little bit. This was possible because of working with everybody, and also because we never stopped on designing the building. I know that the first day that we sat together for our first meeting, I explained to the board that we do not throw a dart at the dartboard and just say, hey, we want 68 units. We really do back into this based on financials and based on what we know mass housing will accept. But the difference between our first meeting and today's meeting is, as I said, we continue to design our plans, and because luckily we are design builders, it allowed us to really start playing with scenarios. And what we were able to do is, even though we're going to lose 8 units and we're going to change this building around, we've really been able to value engineer out in the foundation. And I'm just being very honest, we're able to save more money with this new foundation design to help us stay even with the fewer amount of units that we'll have for rent. So I just wanted to get in front of that if people were wondering, how and what is going on here. So I hope that it proves that, the first night we met, I know I have really never been in front of your board, but I know everybody on the board knows we've been working in Upton for almost 29 years. I promised that I never intended to be any different than we've always been, and that was we want to keep, doing everything we can do to present the best project that we feel like we can for the community. And that's kind of my spiel. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. Because we're going to have to get Stantec involved, and we haven't I haven't even seen the final plans, and Mike, I don't think you've got a copy of them yet. We're probably going to want to push back 1 month. We were supposed to have just one more meeting after this, and we don't have the current plans.
Was it one more, Bill, or was it 2 more?
It was like one. It was this. I thought it was 2 more. I thought it was today and 1 more. So 2 more. So, but we're going to want push back at least 1 month.
It's okay with the board. What I was hoping to do is everything I just said is not going to change. We're never going to be looking to rush the board or to try to make a quick decision and not have everything in the right way. But because we had 2 more meetings, because we're pretty confident that Stantec's going to look at the drainage and realize that nothing was changed. My preference would be we don't move any meetings just yet, and if we go to our next meeting and Stantec just couldn't get to it, then obviously we're gonna work with the board and do whatever extensions we would need to do to do the right thing. But I just feel like maybe if you don't do the extension today, maybe it'll keep a little bit of pressure on Stantec to try to do their review.
All right, well,
That sounds good.
I'm open to that idea, but it's up to the board, of course.
Yes.
I think we need to get those plans. We need to get them to Mike. We need to get them to Stantec and to the building department. It's a significant change. It's a change I think everyone wants to see and is happy to see. So, I want to applaud you for listening. But we do have some stuff we got to get taken care of. I know you've done a lot of community work with the neighborhood. I want to make sure that those conversations get memorialized in case, in case that at some point something changes or the people involved in the development change. We also need a final list of what we need for waivers. So that stuff's got to all come in. What am I missing, Mike?
That's essentially it. We haven't, like you said, the board, Mike Antonellis, Director of Land Use and Inspection Services. That's correct. The board hasn't had a chance to yet sit down and sort of go one by one through the waivers list. I'm sure the waivers list will probably change with this design as well. And I'm sure Ed's working on that on behalf of the applicant and with the applicant's representatives. But no, I mean, there obviously has to be agreement between the applicant and the board before extending the public hearing deadline. If the board is comfortable waiting until to see where we're at the April meeting.
I'm comfortable with that.
We can always request the extension or request that they give us the extension. An issue per Amy flagged, I think early on in the process actually, but then again today, which is our June meeting. So regardless, we'll have a June meeting on this, whether or not the public hearing is still open. The public hearing deadline as of right now ends May 15, which is that meeting date. June 19 is Juneteenth, was now a federal holiday, which would have been in a June meeting. So the board just needs to, we don't have to figure that out tonight, but figure out if the board wants to schedule a different date in June that you all can attend anyway.
Well, Amy's already told me it's going to be the 26th, so I just follow her orders.
Suggested it.
No, Eric is not going to be here. He's going to be out of the community until the 20th. So.
And availability for this room is also the 20th.
So the 20th works, so everyone should know that that's the 20th. But we may be done with that. So Kevin, I would say that we need the final list, we need the final plans, we need the final list of waivers. And if there's any, I know you've done some great community outreach. We're going to ask the neighbors to help us memorialize anything that you put in there, Kevin, and if you can remember those two, because we're going to want those in conditions. Just as a side note, at the last meeting, I did promise that I would go out to, I think it was Kevin McLaughlin's house, and look at what was going on with the water there. I met with the DOT and Kevin. It was raining cats and dogs, which is perfect, actually. Unfortunately, in that particular situation, it turns out that the street drains that go up 140 as far as Fisk Ave, all that impervious pavement is all going into street drains that are going to the culvert that's of question. The day I was there, and I went there multiple days, the day I was there, the primary source of the water going through the culvert was the street. across the street. Ironically, the DOT map said that that head wall and culvert was to be removed back in the 1950s. And I didn't see a lot of water, like barely any water going through that. However, I went back on that super heavy rain day with 2 inches of rain, and a spring was coming right out of the ground, right in front of where the culvert is. So I think whoever chose to leave it there 70, 80 years ago made the wise decision, because you don't want to have a spring flooding the road and then possibly freezing it during the winter and stuff. So I do want to let everyone know that we did go out to that site and look at it with the DOT. They're also going to look at those culverts and
What- Just to clarify, when you say we, you did. It wasn't,
Yeah.
the board didn't go, so otherwise it would have actually been a posted meeting, so that's why
no,
I
it would have been
just
enough. No,
clarified
it was
that
me.
for
I
the
don't want.
record.
I didn't violate any open
Yeah.
meeting law. But if someone has a concern and they invited me out, I went out.
Yes.
And it certainly rained, so it was good to see it in that particular case. I just thought the board would want to know that. I mean, that's a long stretch all the way up to Fisk Ave. That is all that is not being caused by this development. And this development won't change that. Hopefully, I hope that it helps, because there's going from what, 28,000 to 8,000 square feet, something like that. You know, I hope a 20,000 square foot deduction in the land that drains to that culvert. This is runoff though, will improve it. But the day I was there was water it was just a heavy rain, and it's wet on that side of the road. And he says he used to put boats in the stream, sail them down the stream when he was a kid. So I don't think it's something that is, it certainly hasn't increased in that it's not a constant stream anymore, but it has always been an issue. So Michael, what's the next steps on this?
My suggestion to the board and to the applicant tonight, given the new designs, is obviously what they've already done is given a brief presentation on the new designs. We've already talked about the need to have updated peer review, which will be done. And so I would suggest to the board that if you just want to take general comments at this time, if there are questions that either the peer review can answer, I can provide to the peer review, or the applicant, that they can work to answer ahead of the next meeting. I think that would be helpful. Obviously, it's hard to generate very specific questions if it's based on the new design, but if they're general, well, whatever they may be, kind of,
Yeah, it's new stuff. We're familiar with the concerns that have been very eloquently expressed in the past.
So tonight was intended to be the civil engineering review.
Right.
So, I mean, we're essentially still in that phase. What will happen is that this will go back to Stantec, who's the board's peer review engineer, and they will do the civil engineering review. And as you heard Mr. Loebster speak, he also mentioned they'll also confirm stormwater at that time as well, just to put a fine point on the stormwater issue, to make sure there isn't any new issue arising as a result of this design.
Yep.
So those are the next steps, really. We are, as you mentioned, we reached out to the abutters and are in contact with them about the agreements that have been made on behalf of Mr. Loebster with the abutters, and the improvements that will be done on this property in order to mitigate some of those concerns. So we're trying to get a comprehensive list of conditions, essentially, to include with the decision. Myself and Amy, we've began, collecting comments and things that kind of point to conditions that we think you'd want to see as a result of a decision out of this process. So we've been keeping track of that. Amy's been going through minutes and things like that to itemize all the concerns.
Okay. All right. Now, Mike. All right. So I want to open it to the board first, and then, as always, open it to the people out here. Michael, you're reclused on this, but as a citizen, you certainly will have questions. Don, do you have any questions about what we heard tonight, or overall?
I mean, it sounds like a significant reset to what we had before, and I don't know how much we should, how much we have to look over things. I'd looked at some of the other board members on their experience of how much changes are actually being made. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, because if the changes made things worse, it would be a tremendous amount of scrutiny. As things that make things a little bit more what the people around, neighbors want, that's a positive thing. Do either of you have, or any of you, questions, concerns?
Yeah.
Okay. As always, folks, I'm going to open it up to the public for questions, concerns. Please try to focus on the topic at hand. You know, if it's something from that we've already discussed multiple times, you know, hydrologic surveys, those are dead horses at this point. So please, you know, focus on the concerns today. Kevin, come on up. And thank you for inviting me out to your house, even if I did get soaking wet right in my jacket.
Thanks for coming out. What you were just talking about, I mean, I didn't say I ever sailed boats down the river. That's
You
not,
said as a little kid, you put
that's,
little toy boats in the river.
Yeah, little toy boats, but I mean, it just kind of sounded.
No, it wasn't sailing up, yes. There
Well,
was no yachts going down.
it didn't really sound that good. But aside from that, I think you're missing the issue that I brought up. It's not the catch basin on the south side of 140. It's the catch basin on the north side of 140 that I'm concerned about. Now, that is where the approach of the road, that his catch basins that he's installing will be 30 feet up the road. And I took a look at what you were saying was close to a two-thirds difference on the publicly available documents. And I mean, that doesn't look like a two-thirds difference to me. I know these are probably not to scale, but
Kevin, your own water engineer said it was. He recognized it. This is your guy. And Stantec recognized it, and he also said Stantec did a good job.
Recognize the catch basin?
The difference in that, the reduction from 28,000
Right, well,
feet.
I'm looking at the publicly available documents, and this is by no means two-thirds of a difference.
Your water engineer, which you're smart to bring in, looked at it, and he told me it was a significant drop in area collecting.
I'm just talking about the available documents. I mean, they're both the same scale. And you're saying that this is 21,000 square feet right here, and this is 8,000? It doesn't inspire a tremendous amount of confidence in me seeing, you know, I mean, you're saying roughly two-thirds less, right? And I mean, in the renderings.
Well, we have, I don't know if you can help with it, we have 3 different engineers, one that you've hired, one that the town's hired.
I haven't hired anybody.
Well, who was that gentleman that was the?
He's a friend of mine.
Okay, so, but that's his job.
Well, the issue that I'm having is the area that you're saying you're reducing by two-thirds, roughly. The whole approach of the road is going to drain into the north side catch basin, which is connected to my property. So it's going to go.
And all the street of 140, all the way up the hill to Fisk Ave.
Mr. LaVoy, do you know how much water, how much volume of water is going to be draining from the approach of your road into that catch basin?
I don't know offhand.
Was that catch basin, was there 2 sources of water included in the culvert? So there's the water coming off the hill, and then there's the water that's coming from the catch basin. So there's 2 sources of water that are feeding that culvert and coming over to my property. So my concern is that when you cut a road in front of a catch basin that is pitched towards that catch basin, and I have a direct line going underneath the road right over to my property, how is that water going to get cleaned? How are you going to mitigate the flow of volume? I mean, I understand that you've taken all sorts of measures to, make sure that the volume
There should be.
does not increase.
Right, but the
But
point
there is a main, it's a state-owned pipe. So, the fact that they haven't taken, I mean, admittedly so, you don't know how much water from the approach is going to go into that catch basin?
Not offhand right now. I don't.
No, but was that taken into concern when you guys did your water study?
Yes,
It was.
yes, I have 2 catch basins at the entrance that
No.
charge prior to that.
Those are 30 feet up from the catch basin on Route 140. So my concern is the catch basin on Route 140. So there's 30 feet. There's 30 feet of road, 24 feet wide, plus the sidewalk.
But you've expressed to me that you're not concerned about all that water coming down from Fisk Road on 140, the whole width of 140, that's impermeable tar. That is, all that water's coming down.
But
and you're talking.
the thing is if you're, is it a recommendation or is it a regulation? You guys said not one more gallon of water, okay?
And that's the goal.
Okay, well, I understand. Well, thank you very much for stating that, but I mean, you guys are cutting a road in front of a catch basin that's on Route 140 that drains directly onto my property. I mean,
Here's
so.
a question for you, sir. When you go in the entrance, I know your thing is 30 feet back. What's the pitch? Is it pitching to the road? Is it absolutely flat?
You know, it is pitching to the road. I want to say, offhand, it's probably like 2 to 3% pitching to the road, that 30 feet.
It's not for me to decide, it's for the board members to decide. But the gentleman that you brought to the meeting, that was a conservation, what's his, it sounded like he did the same job that Stantec does.
He does something like that. He's retired. I'm really not sure who he worked for, but he seems to know his stuff with this.
Well, he
I mean,
was saying,
I'm not voicing his concerns, I'm voicing my own. So, like I said, you guys, there's 2 sources of water that are feeding that culvert. There's the water coming off the hill, which I believe you guys took into account, but that catch basin was not on any of the documents, any of the drainage documents, anything, until I detailed it myself. That's on the north side.
We've heard this, okay?
You haven't given me the answer, sir.
You have a water problem there currently.
I don't want it to get any worse.
Every engineer that's looked at this, the gentleman you brought who is a retired engineer, this engineer and Stantec, all 3, now 2 of them have told the board, the 3rd one told me personally, because I was there with him and you, told me that the reduction of surface runoff water from 28,000 square feet to 8.
Can I just?
I've seen it, Kevin,
Okay,
and I've seen the large plans that are huge,
right,
and you're trying to pull it off of this little thing. Your own engineer says it's a significant reduction.
I don't have an engineer. I didn't hire an engineer. I had a friend of mine look at it. That's all.
Well, he came
So
to the meeting.
I'm asking the developer's engineer right now. He said that he doesn't know. Is there any way that I can get?
Whoa.
I mean,
Kevin,
I'm not trying to say anything rude.
Kevin, the way you're expressing things, when he says he doesn't have the calculations in front of him, he's done the calculations, okay? There's a big difference between saying someone doesn't know something versus having it off the top of his head. It's a technical area.
Oh, no, I'm aware. No, I didn't mean that he doesn't know, but like I said, Mr. LaVoy, was that the runoff from that catch basin, like how much runoff from the approach of that road is going to drain into that catch basin?
A small amount, but I'm decreasing the runoff prior to that going into the culvert.
Right, but the fact is you guys, do you have it in your record somewhere?
I'm decreasing it.
No, I'm asking, do you have the amount of water
That's
from
going into that one particular catch basin?
on the north side? No, you don't.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. So that was left out of the study.
Right.
So, I mean, how is it worth the paper it's printed on?
The study does show how much is going across the property.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And so we
Can
know
I
that
actually-
there's
You want me to stand up?
Yes, sir.
So good evening, my name is Peter Lavoie. I work with D&L Design Group. So when I take the drainage analysis of the development, I look at the interest point the interest point would be the culvert, because my parcel that I can control goes to that culvert. It doesn't go to the catch basin, because if you look at the grades, all the runoff flows down, goes into that little swale, and then goes across the street. So my interest point is that, that culvert. So then in the post condition, you look at the same thing, but so that interest point would be the culvert. So the drainage area, I reduce that drainage area that gets to that culvert, so it takes in account the 30 feet that would go to the catch basin. So I remove the area above it and redirect it somewhere else, and that's how I accomplish reducing, my pre and my post. So that's why I didn't take the catch basin, because I can't control the runoff on 140.
Which is significant. So basically, you're saying, in terms of the property line, even including the 30 feet, that the water coming from the property to that catch basin is significantly reduced.
Correct.
Okay. And Stantec, my understanding of it, has backed you up on that.
Correct. Stantec has reviewed my calculations, twice. I think we had two rounds of review, and then now they're going to look at it again. So they're going to have, a third time to look at it, and they could, verify those numbers again.
Kevin.
Seeing how Kevin has a question, so maybe they can, look at it.
Okay.
They have another opportunity to look at it.
Okay. Kevin, did you go to the Conservation Board?
No.
Okay, because that was one of the things that an action.
Yeah, I lost a child last month. I'm sorry, I haven't had time.
I'm horrified.
Yeah, me too. I just have one more question.
Okay.
Will the head wall on the north side of Route 140 be removed in conjunction with the development process?
No. No, when I went back there on that really heavy rainy day with the
Do you remember when we met over there? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, but on that really heavy, the 2-inch rain, just like on your side of the road, how water was seeping right out the side of the hill, there was water seeping right out of the spring there.
Well, my question was, is you do remember the guys from MassDOT saying that head wall should have been taken out?
Right, but
they did say that, and you heard that, right?
It was supposed to have been taken out in the 50s.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if the developer did take it out, because that would.
Yeah, but there was. To me, that's a DPW issue, because when I was there after that super heavy rainstorm, just like on the side of the road where you and I were standing, on that side, there was water coming out of the ground, we call them springs, with a heavy rain, and it was going right into that culvert. If you remove that culvert and that pipe and you fill that all in, then that water is going to go somewhere. Where's it going to go?
Underneath the ground.
Right, exactly. And if you have a spring running across the road, and I know up on coming into town, there's one spring across the road that freezes up all the time. That's a safety hazard.
No, it's going to go underneath the road. It would never fill up enough to actually go over the road. That's really.
This project is not going to change what DOT does. DOT is their own separate thing, as you are well aware.
Right. So, I guess with that being said, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for clarifying my questions. I just want you guys to know that MassDOT did identify a spring that was used by the Upton Fire Department as a water source on the proposed property, and it's detailed in their drainage maps actually. And I understand the town and the developer's position on a underground water study, but I do want to let all the parties concerned know that the state is aware of the spring, and they're going to have to produce working drawings and all that for them. So I can't say that I agree with what you guys are saying as far as cutting the road in front of a catch basin and not having any more water come over to my property, but I appreciate the opportunity to get my concerns on the record and for the responses you guys provided.
Thank you, Kevin, and my condolences. That's the most heartbreaking news I've had. Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight? Yes, sir. Can you come up to the mic and just give your name and address, sir?
evening. My name is Gary Strickarts. I'm the chairman of the Lakes, Ponds, and Streams Committee. We raised a question at our last meeting about not the surface water, but the underground water, and whether there be any efforts to measure underground water, either using monitoring wells or deep well probes, and whether the slab, as it is, or the other things, would redirect that water.
We've had many meetings that discuss that very topic. And you want the long or the short answer? The short answer.
The short one, please.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, you missed about, you can go back and watch the tapes. We spent a lot of time discussing those matters. But thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, James Meyer, 35 Fisk Avenue. Have we closed the book on the traffic study? I feel like there was open items specific to Fisk Avenue. I know you want new issues, but I was curious on that.
He's looking at me, but
I don't know
through
who's-
the board,
Yeah.
my understanding is that we are done with traffic.
Yeah.
The supplemental information was provided from the applicant, which provided the additional numbers regarding Fisk Ave. That was reviewed by Stantec, and we had Evan Drew from Stantec, I forget if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, and substantiated what Van Ness Associates provided.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest challenge is, you know, in all honesty, is the public safety aspect of that. Upton PD fortunately has been doing, change things so the parents aren't parking out on the street the way they were before, and they've put the detail in there. I don't know if that's going to continue. We'd have to ask the police chief if that's going to continue, but I do not know that it's going to continue. In terms of, we're trying to discuss certain things every night, like tonight was supposed to be civil engineering. Traffic was at the previous meeting. I don't know if the entire board is satisfied with where we are, but we have, what information we have is the information that we're going to be working with. We're not doing any more traffic studies.
If I may, I just wanted to reiterate the point that the traffic study was not done on January 10th. Before train day. There's two other issues. It was 7 to 8 in the morning. There's no school buses in. There's a 2-hour delay that I sent to the board. I think one of the board members brought up that that was before bus traffic, as it were, maybe.
But you're forgetting that didn't do it just on one day.
It was just one day for Fisk Avenue, it's January 10th. And on the traffic study that I reviewed.
No, that's not correct. You may not want to hear it, but it was not just one day. And sir, you were involved in that, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, they did additional days as well. They had done days for that part of the study, and they had done days before in the winter when there was construction on the road that the people had asked to get delayed. So they have multiple days. They did multiple days on that. But those days were not submitted in the traffic study, and the gentleman that was on the phone last time said we only submitted that day because it was pretty much the same. But I had an issue that we didn't talk about the postponement that he didn't mention, that it was before the bus. It lost a little bit of integrity in that person's response to me. So I want to challenge those three things: the January 10th, the 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the number of vehicles that they're seeing as leaving the building, of 14 vehicles out of likely 120 total vehicles at the property. Maybe now reduced by 8. I appreciate that, Kevin, for reducing the number of units. Likely 120 vehicles at least. For only 14 to leave during commuter time, it seems a bit of an issue to me.
There's something I was very curious about myself personally. I ended up doing a lot of research on it. And I can share, if you leave your email, I can share some articles that the Globe ran on. They were doing a series. And basically, what they were reporting on is the number of spaces of parking and stuff that building has, and the traffic that was involved was actually much less than what they were, the original estimates, and they wanted down those numbers at the state level. But if you want, I can share those articles with you if you leave your email address. Because it is an interesting reading to look at the traffic coming out of any particular place. But your concerns are heard and noted.
So just to reiterate, they're estimating 14 vehicles leaving. That's 9% of the total exit. They had 155 vehicles leaving in one of the tables over the whole day. So they said 9% are going to leave in that peak hour, quote unquote. They call it the peak hour. I'd advise that we do a study in a more of a peak hour. We have folks on the road. We're going to do some videotapes on our own to see how many vehicles are actually coming up Fisk Avenue in the school traffic. We have to
to get the data there. But I would imagine out of the 120 vehicles, 50 to 75 have to be commuters. And those folks are going to go up Fisk Avenue on the right, and that's just not taken into account in the 2024. Currently, they say 4 vehicles are going to take a right, and they say 4 vehicles are going to take a right in 2031. After production, that just can't be right. It's because the exits leaving isn't accurate. The projections and the dispersion can't be accurate.
Sir, one of the reasons why we hired Stantec is because they have a specific traffic engineers who actually look at this sort of stuff and have a lot of expertise in it. And we hire these people, one, we're required to, two, because frankly, we don't know all the answers. But we lean on the professionals that we hire to make sure that what the developer says is accurate. You were at the meeting in which
I was there.
you were
I
at
think
the meeting, and
the word is reasonable. They're not doing their own study. And I would say it is reasonable. For 7 to 8 o'clock, it's reasonable that four vehicles are going to enter there. I don't think the study was done at the correct time or on the correct date. I know there's other dates, but it wasn't submitted. I think it is reasonable. I'm a former auditor. My job is to do things within reason. I would say it was reasonable. Was it the right time, the right date? I would say no.
well, I don't have a solution that you're going to like. We're not going back and doing the traffic study. These things have deadlines and times, which you already probably heard a conversation on. We have 2 more meetings if we don't extend, or if we don't get the extension from the developer. I don't know how the rest of the board feels on how they're going to vote on that matter. But we've been through this ad nauseum in the last meeting. You just don't accept their data. And I understand that you don't accept their data, but that's not going to change that both their engineer and the engineer the town hired are in agreement that it's not going to cause significant traffic. It's not to say that it's not going to cause any. It's just not going to cause significant change in the traffic.
From 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning.
The total calculated trips, I mean, if you look at that chart, the total number of trips out, while it will impact, I mean, if you look at the queue times at the intersections, it increased, but literally by seconds. The challenge we have as a board, and I think you have to understand where we are. We have the ability to approve this or turn it down. If we approve it, we're allowed to put all sorts of conditions on it. If we turn it down, they turn it to the state and there will be no conditions on it. Which would you prefer?
Oh, I haven't given my solution yet. My solution from the beginning would be to accept with conditions. You were great about that, Mr. Chairman, of saying denying isn't in the cause here. It would be accept with conditions with lesser units, likely only the low-income units. Just that's what we're trying to get at.
Well, you're not going to. You can't do that because a 40B by definition. And please be careful with the term low income, because frankly, all your teachers and EMS and police would qualify for, because I know what the salaries of those public employees are, would all qualify for these sort of apartments. There's just been a reduction of 8 units, which is more than 10%. I saw a lot of people that were happy to see that size of reduction. Are they going to chop it another 10%? I would highly, highly doubtful. You know, we have our hands tied, but we got to keep moving forward. Okay. Is there any new concern or things that, based on what we've been talking about in this meeting, that you have that you want to address?
No, this meeting, I just didn't feel the traffic study was fully closed. I didn't know the book was shut. Didn't feel like it was fully thought through. And hopefully the board can hear those.
It's where it is.
There's many residents with us that feel that same concern. So hopefully we take that into consideration. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public that would like to make comments, questions, concerns? Again, please try to keep it to the topics that we are focusing on this evening. I don't want to.
This is Craig Weinfuss, I'm from 8 Hazeltine Road. Just following up on what James Meyer had addressed a second ago. The day of the traffic study on January 10th, I'd just like the record to state that you can look on the Nipmuc website or the Mendon Upton Regional School District website, and you can see that there was a 2-hour bus delay because of the weather on that day. So that leads me to the conclusion that the data that we derived from the traffic study is not accurate, and it's not
Remember
on a
that it
good
wasn't
day.
based on just that one day. It was based on multiple days. Did you attend that meeting by any chance?
I did, but I was late for the beginning part of it.
Because that was something that was addressed repeatedly in that meeting, was that there were more than one day there.
No, when you say more than one day, are you saying on a different year? Because it was only January 10th stated on the
You're
traffic
bumping
study.
over from one calendar year to the next, because that study was done January 10th, 8th?
Yes.
So, but there were dates back in December. So technically, are they in 2 different calendar years? Certainly.
Yeah, so that's not really relevant to the new data that we amassed for the update to the traffic study. It was only done on January 10th.
No, they took other days. Previously, everyone had asked them to push it back because of the construction, so they had done it before then, and the study is based off other days, I believe, in January, but I have to check that. We submitted the new days, Mike has it.
Through the board, I was just trying to bring it up. I could have sworn I remembered it saying it was like the 9th through the 10th was the study, but I'm not looking at it currently.
Right, but the concern has been expressed. I don't have an answer that's going to make you happy. I don't. But their traffic engineer did do multiple days. Our traffic engineer is saying that the queues, the difference in timing of the queue is not really significant. I mean, it was down to seconds at some of those intersections, like the intersection of school. Again, I'm going to say we're in the same position. Which do you want us to do?
Well, that's not up to me, that's up to the board. But what I'm stating is that the school bus traffic was not active on that day because there was a 2-hour
But what
school
about the
delay
other
due to
days?
the weather, so we
What
missed
about
out on a lot
what
of
about
traffic.
the other days? You're fixating on this one date, but what
Well,
about the other days?
well, I'm confused because I reviewed the traffic study and I only saw January 10th, so maybe we could have the board review the traffic study and confirm that it was other days, because as far as I'm concerned, I just reviewed the traffic study and it looked like they only stated January 10th, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, as far as I analyzed it. Maybe Mike Antonellis could.
I listened to all the conversations very carefully, and at one point it was specifically said that the data on the different days was consistent, and so that was the date that they put in there. But they could have given the data from other days.
Well, that seems inaccurate. And coming from Stantec, we would assume that the data would be accurate because they're an engineering firm. So,
which I have trust in them. We've used them multiple times.
Trust but verify. I mean, we need to ensure that the data is accurate. I mean, this is a very
don't-
large development that's going to affect our town, so we have to make sure that we're doing this properly.
Stantec is who we hire to verify. That's our consultant.
Yeah,
they
so
do
the
the
information in the report should be accurate. If it's multiple days, they should state that it's multiple days.
Well, remember, they did the study, but they added a second component to the FISCAB component. I understand it's a concern. To me, the biggest concern was school pickup drop-off times, because they were queuing up on 140, which the police have now stopped. They've got a better method for that, and they've been doing the detail office. When I express that we're trying to do this in chunks, we're trying not to have the same meeting every single meeting, okay? And basically, this is just the exact same discussion we had when we did the traffic night. What's different?
Well, I mean, if the data is inaccurate then, it's still inaccurate now.
That's
So
your
we have
assumption,
to.
but that's your assumption.
Well, yeah, and I'm asking the board to go back and verify.
We don't, The state gives
Or
us
our
a time
engineering.
limit on this.
And that's another question that I have, because when you look at Governor's Landing took 20 years to complete, but this project we're pushing through in
It's
6
not a
months.
40B.
Hmm?
That legally, these are different. The Governor's Landing is not a 40B project. This is a 40B project.
I think at some time during the Governor's Landing process, it was a 40B project.
It's not, what went through, I was on the board, it's not a 40B project.
Yeah, but I think they changed that at some point.
It was never 40B.
I mean,
Okay, well,
all right, how about we stick
regardless,
to this project? What, sir? I'm trying to be
I'm
respectful.
just, I guess the
My
question I'm asking.
two-year-old granddaughter wore me out today. What can I say? I'm getting grumpy. What's different tonight that you're discussing?
I'm just asking if you could verify the date, and if you're saying that it was multiple days.
I know there were multiple days.
Okay,
Yes.
so the report should reflect the multiple days for accuracy.
And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, the study is one date, but you did multiple days of testing out there. And the reason you selected that one date was because that was the last one, that was the one that was rescheduled, that was requested, and you decided that the data was consistent with the prior dates. Is that right?
That is, I believe, how they did it correct. That's how I understand.
All right, your concern has been noted and concerned. You know, I need you, when you're unhappy on this, I really need you to understand the position we're in. Do you want this with conditions or without?
Well, that's up to the board, that's not up to me.
Well, I'm putting it on your lap too, because you're standing there and you're obviously unhappy with us, and I understand why.
I'm not unhappy with you, I just wanted to make sure that the report is accurate.
Our consulting engineer is comfortable that the report is consistent. I don't know what else you can say. All right, I'd like to give someone else an opportunity.
Okay, thank you for hearing my questions and comments.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or concerns that you'd like to bring forward to the board? But I'm going to reiterate, please keep it, I don't want Groundhog Day. Okay? New concerns. Now, I hope you're happy with the height change.
I'm very glad to hear that they've taken our concerns into
Thank you.
consideration.
Thank you.
I thank the team for that. I have two things that I wanted to bring up, and one is I know that the Lobisher team has been out to certain abutters, and they've actually been recorded both in the letter, and people have sent emails to the zoning board about the changes. Recently, I've been contacted by a couple of people, and they said they haven't been contacted, and they said they're getting nervous because things are wrapping up. And is there a way to contact the team and say, please come out to my backyard and look at this? Because people are feel very insecure now that time is going by and they're not hearing back.
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Kevin?
Yes, Kevin.
If I may, I have no issue with what Marcia was saying, but it's not very accurate. She reached out to us about 2 weeks ago on Friday, I believe, said that she would like to have a meeting. David, who was the president of the meeting currently, reached out to Marcia on, I believe, that following Monday. Maybe it was Tuesday, and we have already tried to set up another meeting, but she said that she needed more time to set the meeting up. And we were under the impression that she was setting up another meeting. As you know, I keep going, I keep listening, but just like the board, I'm not going to hold back either here. You know, it is getting frustrating that we're spending all of this money with very reputable engineering people, and it seems like the neighbors are never going to take what professional engineers and third-party people say. So, you know, I don't, if the board were me, I'm not really sure what I do in continuing to have these conversations, because when they're constructive, everybody can see what I do. If it's constructive, there's something for me to do. But if it's just to talk about the same thing over and over, I'm just telling you, I'm human. I don't know what to do.
Could I clarify?
But even with that being said, I told Marcia to set the meeting up. We'll meet more. So that was not on me.
Well, to clarify, there were two items that I had. One are you went to individual homes and talked to people about their backyards and their issues. And some people told me that they had tried to reach out, and I apologize because I don't know how they did it, but they hadn't heard back. So I just wanted to bring that up, that there are some people who still want to talk to you individually, pointing out things like in their backyard.
Okay, so I think the great solution on this is, let's get specifics, let's get name, phone numbers. I can reach out to them personally.
Yeah.
Kevin can reach out to them personally. We'll get it done, because I was actually very pleased with the community meeting with Kevin and talking with the
We
concerns.
do want another one, and I did reach out, and I think we spoke, but I've heard on Tuesday night that they wanted it on Thursday, and that's not enough time to book a room and get information out to people. That would leave one day. So that was the problem, but these are two different things.
Why don't you, my recommendation is that, I know Kevin's done some individual meetings. It sounds like you're talking to two people.
I know there's three people at least that reached out to me, but they just didn't know if they were contacting people correctly, and that was it. How should they contact you? What should I tell people?
I would tell them to come to a ZBA meeting, because I've seen a number of conversations out in that foyer between the neighbors and Kevin that I thought were really a good thing for him to do and for the neighbors to do.
He went out to people's houses and they were thrilled, and I think this may have gotten more people excited about doing the same. And the community meeting we had was very productive, and people had a very positive outlook, and that's why we were trying to offer another one. And I had suggested that people could ask about an individual meeting when we have that, but the community meeting is now going down the road, and I'm worried we're running out of time. So I bring it up as an individual issue. Kevin, I didn't mean anything. I appreciate how responsive you've been, but I just wanted you to know there are some people feeling left out, and I hate to see that happen, because you have been responsive to so many.
Okay, well, thank you. And Kevin?
And we're not going to leave anybody out, Mr. Chairman. All of the people that we've met personally at their properties have, I believe, and David could correct me, but they through the meeting process and after the planned zoning board meetings, they have come to us personally, and we set up the meetings. So obviously David is there now, and if we can get those three people's information, I would have absolutely no problem with meeting them individually.
That'd be great, Kevin.
And,
Thank you.
There's no phone calls that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for listening. And again, I wasn't saying you weren't responsive. I just said that some people hadn't heard back and they're now nervous because they know time is coming to an end.
Well,
so I thought I'd mention it. Thank you.
I want to thank you, and I just want to say that I really appreciate for you to be thanking Kevin and saying positive things from where we started. I think it's you as meeting with him as a community and Kevin meeting with you. So kudos to the whole group of you that met with Kevin, and Kevin for you for meeting with them. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come on?
Hi, Sue Perry from 24 Hazeltine. I just want to thank you, Kevin Lobster, for looking over everything and reducing the 8 units and making it 4 stories. I know this is going to happen, and we do want it to happen with these rules that we can do. We don't want just the state to come in and say, hey, we're just going to build this right here, and it's going to be 6 stories. So we got to all work together. And I appreciate. Thank you, Kevin Lobster and the board.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the meeting? No one? Okay. We need a continuance for this, sir?
Yep. Okay. Amy, what's our next meeting?
April 17th.
April 17th is the next meeting. And not to belabor the point, I just wanted to correct the record of what I said earlier when I said that the January study was 2 days. it was just January 10 for the revision. What I had in my mind was the January 2023, which is also noted in that report, which was the 11th and the 12th, which is, you know, easy to jumble.
Okay,
But anyway.
thank you,
Yeah.
because I'm glad to hear you clarify that.
All right, I move that we continue the hearing on 47 Main Street until our April 17th meeting.
Second motion.
Okay, Don Spargo, how do you vote?
Tom Spargo, aye.
All right.
Bob Humes, aye.
Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Okay. Folks, thank you very much. We just have a couple of minutes to approve here, if I believe.
Yes, please.
Thank you all folks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you like the news. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. My computer's still live. When you see me counting from 10, you know it's... Laura. Okay, so I feel your pain, Amy. I read the minutes.
And you know what? I get to do that again from tonight.
I'm-
Same exact point.
I'm apologetic. I tried. That's all I can say.
Amy is putting a lot of Amy's putting a lot of extra effort into these minutes because she's aware of how important these meetings are. So otherwise, if you read other boards and committees' minutes, they're not as detailed. They don't resemble
Transcript?
Transcript.
Literally
Not that I
transcript.
think these do. I think it's a wonderful summation of all the individual points that are expressed. So I just wanted to point that out and thank Amy for her work.
Absolutely. I think the whole board wants to thank Amy.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, did everyone get a chance to read over the February 22nd minutes? That was the giant one? That was
8 pages.
8 pages?
Only 8.
If anyone has read it, you know, I've read it in detail. I know you guys all have. I'll take a motion for whenever, however. Is there any concerns with it that anyone has with it? Wasn't detailed enough. I didn't see nothing caught my eye.
It's not boring, I'll say that.
I just feel like I knew it something. Now, Mike, can Michael vote on these minutes, or is this Don?
No, he could vote on them.
Okay. I mean, he did attend the meeting, so, okay. I just didn't know which one of Michael or...
It's probably better practice that if we have all the members present who were the voting members of
And
this.
the comprehensive committee is the thing. So Don, I think you were gonna make you the voting member for this one, if that's okay with you, Mike? For the minutes, because it was a part of the meeting. All right, can I get a motion for, we have 2 different minutes here. January 17th is one, which was the short one.
All right, I move that we approve the minutes from the January 17th, 2024 ZBA meeting.
Any second?
I second it.
Okay. Bob.
Bob, yea.
Bob Humes. Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Don.
Tom Spargo, aye.
Okay, that's one down. Now the other one, the big one. This is from February 21st. I'll let you guys just review it if you haven't reviewed it. I did before.
All right. I move that we approve the minutes from the February 21st, 2024 ZBA meeting.
Okay, anyone second?
I second it.
Okay, Bob Butler.
Aye.
Bob Humes.
Bob Humes, aye.
Bill Andrews, aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
Aye. Don.
Don Spargo, aye.
Aye. Mike and Amy, is there any other?
Just a motion to, oh, did you want to discuss
Oh,
the date for if they do extend?
Even if they don't extend, we should have that date wrapped. I think we, so folks, Mike and Don, July, is it July or June? June, the June meeting is on a federal holiday, so we want to postpone it 1 week. So
No,
we,
1 day. One
Well,
day. It's
well-
on the 19th. We want to
oh, so it
close
goes,
the 20th.
so we want to go for, oh, well, he's gonna, when you come back.
The night of the 19th, so 20th, fine.
And that's the only night.
So
that-
June, so we want to move the June meeting to the 20th of June,
Correct.
okay? Is that okay with, Mike, would that be okay with you? It's okay with me, I'm retired.
I'm good.
You're good? All right, I'm gonna put it in.
Yep, I'm good.
All right, so, do we have to take a vote on that? Or can we just-
Don't take a vote on it tonight. What I'll
Okay.
do is add that to the agenda at the next meeting. You can take a formal vote on it then.
Okay, I'm adding it into my phone, so it's, so June,
So I'll add
20th.
to the agenda for the April meeting.
and this is gonna be at 6:30.
Correct. And I'll book it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That gives, and if we can get that, that out to, I just want the audience here to know, this particular group to know that it will be at that one night different.
And we can announce that at the next.
Okay.
You know what I'll do? I'll put it in the initial comments so that people leave, they'll know in advance.
Okay, all right. Bob, the most important, I leave one to you.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn the Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Okay. Bob?
Aye.
Bob Humes, aye.
Bill Linger's aye.
Eric Russell, aye.
And Donna?
Don Spargo, aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Good meeting tonight. Thank you.